What up, and welcome to another awesome edition of Hit the Ropes Radio. I am your host tonight, Mr. Wikipedia, Darius Brown. And on this episode of the 339th episode, at some point we will be joined by the Stokester, who is somewhere in doing his dad due diligence and taking care of babies and yada, 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 all that good stuff. So tonight's show, we're going to be talking about Extreme Rules, Raw, SmackDown, of course. And then we'll get into, as the title's kind of funky tonight, we're talking about the best and worst kept secrets of the WWE. It's nothing that deep. Don't want to be misleading with the title, but there's some things that maybe the casual fans who tune in, we do have casual fans along with the hardcore fans, that they might not know is going on right now and have gone on in the past. So we got a lot of things to cover. We'll talk about some wrestlers, where they're at right now in their career, pivotal moments, opportunities for them to branch out and maybe do some other things, or it's time for WWE to, kind of crap or get off the pot with these guys. So those are, some of the things we'll cover. Let's kick it off as we're waiting for Stokester with the Extreme Rules pay-per-view that was held on Sunday. This pay-per-view was a Raw pay-per-view, and there was leading into it, the big talking point was the fatal five-way Extreme Rules match featuring Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and Bray Wyatt. And that was about it, right? So that was the talking point. We had the tag titles on the line. We had the cruiserweight titles on the line, the Raw's Women's Championship on the line, and the Intercontinental Championship on the line. So it was stacked with titles. So you would think on paper, just seeing the amount of titles that were on the line, that it would be something that would be like, oh, I got to tune in, got to see it. But it really wasn't. Dean Ambrose, The Miz, really, really weird stipulation. I understand that Dean Ambrose is the lunatic, right? But the stipulation was if he got disqualified, he'd lose the title. And that is so a heel stipulation. It's so weird. Why as a face, you really should never worry about. That's usually a stipulation that the title holder has been cheating his way through victories, Stokes, as I'm talking about the IC title in the Extreme Rule match. Usually the champion has been cheating a lot, and that's why the no DQ or the title change hands is usually in place. This time it was a groin shot by Dean Ambrose. It wasn't like he's been cheating all this time. So it was kind of weird stipulation. But I am so happy, Stokes. I'm so happy that The Miz is once again IC champion, because anybody's been listening to this show as of late, Dean Ambrose, he was the king when it was the trio, when it was the Shield, when they were on top and running things. I picked him mainly because he was the mouth at the time to be the man in the sins, but he got hurt. Roman Reigns took his place. And now he kind of finds his way into the IC championship, but he is so boring. And I hate the crappy clothesline. Why are you going between the ropes? So he loses, and once again, The Miz, the man who has been running things on SmackDown, now is running things on Raw, is the IC champion. I couldn't be more happier. What are your thoughts on the IC title match? It's the first match we're talking about, and the victor goes to spoils.
I thought it was a great move. The Miz has been, money consistently, over the course of, for a long, long time. He had a little lull there, like after WrestleMania 27, where he kind of had his big moment, beating John Cena, with the assist from The Rock. We were there live. And then he kind of dipped, he kind of dipped for a little while after that. And then he kind of slowly ascended back up the ranks. He still hasn't gotten a world title in the world title picture yet, but he's definitely doing what he said he was going to do, which is bring some prestige back to the IC title. He definitely makes the IC title more interesting. The added bonus or addition of having Maurice as his valet has definitely elevated him even more, if you ask me. It certainly hasn't hurt him. So having Maurice by his side and kind of doing this, the evil husband-wife duo, and it not being Triple H and Stephanie, it's it's cool to see. And like you said, he's the man. The Miz has been doing a lot of good things. Dean Ambrose just doesn't do it for me. So I was actually happy to see him drop the title. I always thought that Roman Reigns would be the man from the Shield, him or Seth Rollins, and I always thought Dean was kind of the third guy. But what do I know? But in any event, as we see young Miss Brown there, but I thought that the Miz winning the title, obviously at Extreme Rules, was a good thing overall. Look at that, man. You're a world-class father doing the radio show. I look, it's Father's Day is right around the corner.
That's what we do.
You're doing your thing, man. You did that. You're very smooth with that, might I add.
It's an everyday thing. There's no days off for fathers. You know that. You know the deal.
Man.
Hence the 9:30 start time.
Boom. Yes, my wife sends me a text message. Oh, I'm out to dinner with friends. I'm like, oh, really? Because I got like 400 kids here going berserk.
Knows what Wednesdays is about. It ain't about dinner with friends.
I know. What's going on? What's going on? But I digress. Go ahead, man. I thought the Miz winning was a good thing overall.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets the jump soon to the world title picture, but we know his time is not now, as he's on the the Miz Reclaim Championship Tour. What the heck's the name of it? He's got a name for it.
The 500th World Tour of the Miz. No, I think it's like the Rebirth or the Rebirth Tour or something to that effect that he's named it.
Hey, you're right about that. He's on the hurry up and beat me so I can win it back again, lose it, get back again, so I can go ahead and beat Chris Jericho's 9 title reigns.
Right.
He's definitely on that mission. But we said he couldn't be in that title picture because that was solved in the main event, the Fatal 5-Way. And they hooked me. They got me. Because when Paul Heyman came out 2 weeks ago and he started talking all that smack about Finn Balor, I had my hand in my face. I'm like, how in the world? Why is Finn Balor? I understand he never got his title shot back after he had it stripped due to injury. But they got me, Stokes. I thought he was going to. What did you think about the Fatal 5-Way and the results of that match? That was a #1 contender for Brock Lesnar's world title.
Well, I thought the match was good. I thought they did some really good things in the match. Some of the spots were really good. I wasn't sure how 5 guys was going to work. We haven't seen a Fatal 5-Way in a long time. I think they said it's only happened like 2 or 3 times, if that. So I was a little skeptical about how the match would work. 5 guys is a lot, to have in a ring. Especially where where it's not like a Royal Rumble type Battle Royal type match. So the match overall was good. I want to say it probably was the best match of the evening. I know there might be some debate on that, but I thought it was probably the best match of the night. I was absolutely satisfied with the outcome of the winner being Samoa Joe. I don't know if we're going to get into this a little later in the show, but I hate that this could potentially only be a one-off thing, but I absolutely love the fact that Samoa Joe won, and I'm looking forward to his match versus Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. Who can forget that wonderful pay-per-view name?
I'm trying to. Each and every day, I'm trying to. It gets harder and harder to do so, though. We'll get to Great Balls of Fire a little bit later. But as of right now, the Fatal Five-Way, yes, as I alluded to, spoke about, Samoa Joe was my man to come out there, and I was hoping he would do so, and I was hoping it would not be Finn Balor because it is two beasts. It was, I I don't know if this fits in WWE's PG era, but where's the Joe's gonna kill you chance? That's what I need. And after they did a great job on Monday Night Raw, fueling the fire, where they brought up the fact that they kind of skewed it. Finn Balor was the safe pick, and Samoa Joe's the guy he feared all along. But they plan to bring the Beast out of the Beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Samoa Joe's already shown a more vicious side. Now, Stokes, as long as they can manage to keep Joe from getting kidnapped in an unmarked van, we printing money, man. We printing money. That's what's happening.
I hate that it's. I mean, I love that it's happening. I would have loved to see Samoa Joe, Brock Lesnar at, say, a SummerSlam. Not to say who's to say we may not see that. I know that's, the pay-per-view after Great Balls of Fire. I wonder how many times we're going to say that on tonight's show. But I do like what they're doing. Finally, I like what they're doing with Samoa Joe. They started off with a bang, bringing him in as the Destroyer, and that whole thing was working out. And then after that, after he, kind of wrapped up that WrestleMania match with Seth Rollins, it kind of, again, was like a lull there. Like, what are they going to do with him? And they, honestly, in my opinion, they weren't using him right. And then, now he has this great opportunity versus Brock Lesnar. He came out mad vicious, putting Paul Heyman in the coquina clutch. I liked that a lot. Yep. I loved the audible, the things that he was saying without the mic. He's like, now, Paul, this is gonna hurt. What's gonna happen is you're gonna start feeling the shortness of breath, and I liked all of that. A friend of mine thought it was kind of weird how intimately close they were as he was talking to him, but I thought that was great. That was a good move by whoever booked that. But Brock Lesnar. Samoa Joe, I love him being in this position. I hope that it's not temporary, though. I hope it's not just a stepping stone for, a Braun Strowman to come back and then get the high-profile match at SummerSlam. Joe, if, like you said, if they use the Joe's gonna kill you, Joe, the vicious Joe, he's actually a opponent for Brock Lesnar that we actually would believe could actually beat Brock Lesnar, and that's a problem that WWE has, because they built Brock Lesnar as this huge monster that you just don't think that anybody can beat him. So you have to build somebody up, a la a Braun Strowman, who, if he fought Brock Lesnar, you would believe that he potentially has a shot because he's been built as a monster. But if you build Joe that way, as this vicious submission machine, as they did with him kind of in TNA, maybe a match with him and Brock Lesnar, hey, maybe Joe has a shot, and it's more believable. So I like where he is, and I hope that it's longer than one pay-per-view.
And I think it should be. I don't know if it would necessarily be a shock and awe, but I really think they should drop the title and kind of legitimize Samoa Joe, because, as you mentioned, he's been kind of floating around in the main event mafia type role with Triple H, and we don't really know what to make of him as a WWE Samoa Joe. And I think by beating Brock Lesnar, that would immediately put him in an upper echelon that the WWE needs, because he is going to be around. And I get that back in the 80s, you didn't see your your champion because he was traveling the world and defending in different territories, and so the awe of only seeing a title fight every once in a while was pretty cool. But in today's time, I really don't think it works. I don't think it helps the brand by having the champion absent so much. It hasn't elevated any of the secondary titles at all. So to have Samoa Joe hold the title, I think that gives everybody else something to shoot for, and more importantly, it makes Samoa Joe a bigger star. So, great balls of fire. If they have the shock value, let them win. Then we can start planning for that rematch at SummerSlam, or down the road. I wouldn't necessarily. I think maybe you hold it off a la Goldberg and run it back at WrestleMania. It would be my thing. You keep them apart some way, somehow. There's plenty of ways to do it. He's got beef with Seth Rollins. You can immediately jump into defending the title. Finn Balor never got his just due. So there's other things to keep him busy. But the only thing is, I think Brock versus Braun is also money at WrestleMania, probably a bigger bout. So
yeah, and I mean, obviously, well, I think we're going to see Brock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I think that is what WWE envisions. So you can throw Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, at SummerSlam. I agree with you 100%. I hate the fact that that the champion is not a regular on television. Like you said, I think at this point, with this whole new era that they're trying to push, I think it kind of does the product a disservice. I'm kind of neutral on Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's never really done it for me. He's okay. Obviously, I understand the appeal, some of the mystique that he has, and just being this big beast and kind of going into both the wrestling and UFC worlds and dominating. So I get all that. I just wish he would appear on TV more if he's going to hold the belt. Like you said, putting the strap on someone else will be beneficial. I don't think we're going to get the shock value with Samoa Joe because we already got it with one Jinder Mahal. So I don't think WWE is going to go out on that limb with both brands, kind of having, because I don't know that Samoa Joe has been like the same criticism I had with Jinder Mahal. I don't know that he's been built up enough to give him the belt, let alone the belt on the flagship show. So I don't know. I think it's probably more realistic or more feasible for Braun Strowman to win it at SummerSlam. Then you kind of still have this big beast dominant champion. And Braun has been built up quite a bit before his injury and things of that nature. You probably have to do a little bit of rebuilding, but not a whole lot. But it's probably more realistic that Braun wins the belt at SummerSlam than Samoa Joe winning it at Great Balls of Fire.
Really? So that's a whole different discussion, different topic. Because I understand what you're saying about the push, and he was definitely making headlines while he was there. But you can't ignore what I think people are familiar with him. So I don't know if we can ignore necessarily his past, even though he hasn't had any feud that's been amazing, any real moment other than coming out and attacking Seth Rollins. I still would put him as a more valid opponent for Brock as far as dropping the title at this point, because Braun has he's had much better moments, but when we peel the onion, there doesn't feel like there's anything there. Yeah. So
what do you mean? You mean that in terms of like wrestling ability, or because I mean, truth be told, I mean, if you peel the layer back on Brock Lesnar, there's not a whole lot. I mean, in my opinion, he has Paul Heyman, who's his mouthpiece. I mean, he has the greatest mouthpiece, one of the greatest in the history of wrestling. But I kind of get what you're saying. I think we're thinking of Joe, and like Daniel said in the chat room, and I agree with his point he made. He's like, hey, Joe's a much more credible, will be much more credible as a champion than Jinder Mahal. And I agree because of Joe's past pedigree and some of the successes he's had elsewhere. But at the same time, we're talking about Raw. And generally speaking, WWE is probably going to have, the Universal Championship on somebody that's probably got a little more juice at this time than Samoa Joe. He could be built up and brought there. I just don't think the WWE has done it. So to see him thrust in the role and fighting Brock at the next pay-per-view, if they got 5 weeks though. That's about as much time as they use to build Jinder up. So they got about 5 weeks. If they can have him continuously choke people out. If he came on Raw next week, Brock's coming back, and he choked Brock out, then we might have something. That might be money. Then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy actually, choked out Brock Lesnar. He could legit, beat him. But like I said, I don't know, man. I just don't see it happening. I think like we've kind of alluded to, and some people in the chat room alluded to, Braun and Brock is the SummerSlam plan. So I think Joe is going to have this 15 minutes of fame, and then he will go back to mid to upper mid card obscurity.
That'll hurt him severely, I think. If that happens, if he's a one and done title challenger. Now, Stokes, this may be out of the playbook of one Courtney McIntosh, who I believe is working as he's flipping pancakes, doing his thing, making beautiful cheesecakes, whatever he's whipping up in the kitchen. But can you hear this? Let me know if you can hear this. Nothing. I hear nothing. All right. Okay. Because what I was gonna do, I was gonna go to a throwback session, but since let me double check one thing.
Okay, before you and why you're doing that, before you go back to the throwback session, you mentioned something earlier, and I saw a story about this, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. And guys, of course, in the chat room can chime in as well. So you were talking about how, because of WWE's PG program, we won't get the Joe's gonna kill you chance and all of that stuff. Did you see the report that came out about their median age of their viewers? So WWE presents this PG product, and like the median age is like 54, which I thought was like absolutely crazy, which is actually the age of Shane Howard. He's 54. He turned 54 this year. But no, the median age is 54, which I was like, wow, really? That old? I know some people said they don't believe that, like some of those numbers kind of conflict, but I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. I mean, I guess if you think about it like this, if the demographic, their main demographic was like 18 to 24, right? And let's say at the height of the Attitude Era, which is what, like 98, 99, you had a 24-year-old watching Monday Night Raw. It's 2017, so what? That's what, you got 98, got 09. So it's like 15, well, my math is terrible, 18 years later, something like that. So, they're what? If a 24-year-old is what, like 42, or something like that. So, I mean, could it be that the median age is 54? Yes, but I somehow doubt that. If it was like in the 40s, I would say, okay, well, you still got a lot of people, from that 18 to 24 demographic who was watching during the Attitude Era that watch still, and so now they're older. But 54, man, what do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, I looked at that list. That list, I don't know. I'm reading the Sports Business Daily Global Journal, wherever the frick that is. I don't know how. I'm trying to see what if they the one who generated this source is Magna Global.
Yeah.
All right. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But I'm looking at that list. Wrestling had the largest jump. It's comparing 2006 to 2016, a 10-year change. And as you mentioned, 54 years, where previously it was, did you say 33? Something like that. 21 years difference. Somebody do the math. But and that's the biggest jump out of all the sports that they covered. Golf, baseball, basketball, football, all of the major sports, and then some not so major. And it had the largest jump for the last 10 years. And I don't know. I perceived in 2006, one, nobody's watching wrestling. It was a pretty down season, but it surprises me, and I don't think it's that accurate because I don't know. I don't know any. When I look into the crowd, I'll base this off of that. I don't see a lot of 50-year-old men,
54-year-olds. Yeah, me neither. Right,
hanging out. I was at WrestleMania, which was the hardcore of the hardcores.
Mm-hmm.
30s. I would ballpark 30s. And in its popularity, its height of its popularity, the late 90s, I would guess that 20 to 30 was the range. And 10, 15 years later, maybe, but I think a lot of that also transitioned to the UFC. I mean, not like everybody jumped up and left, but a good portion of people have gone off. So they didn't continue the age. And it's weird if they are a true PG show and they're targeting that would fit my grandma or my mother, I guess. It's not I'm not that young. My mother, I guess, would be appropriate for a PG era show as opposed to WCW that was targeting 18 to 34-year-olds. But but all the sports were high. They said the NBA's what was the NBA? The NBA is, I'm looking at the list, NFL's 50, MLB's 57, which I can believe because only old farts watch baseball nowadays.
Come on, man. Don't be like that.
It's true. NBA is the youngest, which was 42. So,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that would make sense because people, I think you don't drop off of, you don't just stop watching the NBA if you liked it. When you were a kid, you probably still watch it when you're older and things of that nature. But the list, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that there are more people watching. I don't know. Well, I'm rambling here, but do you think maybe the factor that the WWE network is now on, and maybe people are catching updates and stuff like that, and maybe not as many people are watching on Raw and SmackDown, or maybe that's skewed it in some way. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I don't know how the network would factor in, but that would make sense that you have an older demographic involved because you can go on the network and watch all the old stuff. But I don't know that was a determining factor in these figures. I guess it begs the question: should WWE, maybe not go full-fledged back Attitude Era as far as content, but should they have more mature content than what we're seeing?
Listen, the whole weird argument is sponsorships, which I don't really get because you can't tell me they weren't getting sponsored in the Attitude Era.
Weren't they getting? I mean, you had at that time there was like 4-5 million people watching Raw a week. I mean, they haven't had ratings that high in literally decades, right? It's been,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
the Attitude Era was like in the late 90s, you know, so I mean, you know, you've had a decade pass since, a decade and a half passed since the Attitude Era, and they were getting millions upon. I know they still get what, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million a Raw, but they they were definitely getting in the fives, sometimes even higher during its heyday.
Yeah. And should back to your original question, should they? Yes, I definitely think so because they have the platforms to do so. Um, uh, because you have the opportunity to recapture with this, whether you want to bring back an ECW brand and not necessarily relive. You're not bringing back Sandman, who's dusty and drinking rusty beers now. You're not bringing back those old guys, but maybe to wrestle, but maybe you could bring them in to commentate or something just to give it an ECW flair, but use that brand name as an opportunity to capture people who are craving. Because let's face it, anytime Hell in a Cell comes up, especially Songman John, oh God, how are we gonna have Hell in a Cell? We know there's no blood. All right, maybe you don't have to have blood, but you can. It's hard to have an Extreme Rules where things don't seem to get too extreme.
Yeah.
Whether it's the language, the action, whatever. So you have the opportunity with your own network. Now, you're still going to get the haters protesting because it's WWE as a whole. They're not going to say, "Oh, well, it's on the network." No, they're going to take the major brand and they're going to attack it. But yeah, let's try and let's try and capture what was old. WCW could come back. I'm sure you could lure Eric. I don't care what Eric Bischoff says. He's doing a wrestling podcast now. He's opening his own wrestling, indie-related wrestling website. So he is very much back into it. Tony Schiavone, I don't know if you want to go that old school, but he has also got his own podcast. So these figures, and these are people who don't have to wrestle, who could go on for years. We've seen with baseball commentators forever. Bring them back, and build around some of the key essential figures, and then use them to target that more younger demographic by being more edgy than what the WWE can be on USA Network. You have your own network, your own platform, a la NXT. Give them an hour, let them go wild, and let's see what happens. And maybe we get something really cool.
Yeah, I have been a proponent for bringing back blood, at least for a long time. I mean, at least in some of these, as Shane Howard said in the chat room, at least some of the things that are more extreme, your Hell in the Cell matches, your steel cage matches, because I don't know about you, but if I took your head and banged it against some steel repeatedly, you're probably going to bleed. I'm probably going to bleed. So at the very least, and I understand, I guess WWE's assumption is, well, everybody knows this is, scripted entertainment. So they're not expecting to see blood. My thing is, if you can slam people through tables, if people can jump off the top of 20-foot high cages, onto tables and go through tables, all these things, okay, you can smash my head against some steel and I bleed some. I mean, come on, let's be realistic, at least in that aspect. But hey, I guess it's working from a sponsorship standpoint. I don't recall WWE ever not having sponsors, like
Correct.
You said earlier, when they were super raunchy and things of that nature. But we're in this era now. I don't know, man. I don't know that it'll ever. And I'm not even saying go back to Attitude Era, but at least make it to the extent where okay, we're grown-ups watch this. At least get it to that level.
Yeah, and just like you're an entertainment company, just like entertainment companies are able to produce PG-13, and rated R flicks or television shows, mature rated, mature. Why does everything have to be one vanilla flavor? Why does everything have to be packaged exactly the same? It's bad enough that the brands mirror each other so much. You should make one more diverse than the other by being a little edgier. And I think that would bring you more sponsors. You could have different sponsors. If you want the kid-friendly stuff, put them on Raw. You want to go edgy? Well, guess what? SmackDown is there, and you can do a host of energy drinks to alcohol if that's your flavor. Whatever it has to be. There is sponsorship opportunities that just because you're publicly traded doesn't mean they have to be fearful. They're a TV show, right? So I think that's an interesting survey, and brings up a good conversation there. And I just want to, I put the weird title, the good, the bad, the best, the secrets and stuff like that. So I'll touch on a little bit of that. But we'll stay on the friendly, the PG side of things for now. And I wanted you to know if you're up on Mata's timeline. I know some people are saying, Mata who? Mata, competed in Tough Enough. The one where ZZ, the alligator wrestler, won. No, ZZ lost to the Josh, who got kicked off the island, the big Yeti guy. Do you remember Mata, the one with the mohawk and blonde mohawk?
No. Is he on Twitter?
He's on Twitter, so everybody take a pause for the cause.
All right, go ahead, right, pull him up on Twitter.
Pull him up on Twitter. Real Deal Mata, Mada, right? So if you see him, you'll probably recognize him if you happen.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember this cat. Yeah.
That guy. I think he's still in the WWE system.
Is he?
I don't know. He's a former WWE superstar, it says. So maybe he's out. But
that's what former would mean, Darius.
Well, they don't necessarily always update the timeline, so I'll go with it though. But the reason he caught my eye out of nowhere because he popped up in the UFC world where there's a fighter named Mark Hunt. He's from New Zealand, and he's known for most recently fighting Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and didn't Brock get the steroid thing? He tested positive against that guy.
He tested positive multiple times in one fight. Usually someone pops and then, okay, it's flagged and it's done. Brock Lesnar popped multiple times, which I don't believe has ever happened, ever. So Mark Hunt is suing the UFC and Brock Lesnar for these tests, saying they knew that he was a steroid abuser and he wants to punish him punitively and get his money. All right, so running this back, I'm looking at Mark Hunt's timeline, and there's everybody in the octagon standing in a formation of sorts, and apparently all of a sudden he's there with I don't even know homeboy's name. He's from because I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. He's from his name's Jason Momoa from Aquaman.
Okay. Yeah. I just know the dude who's playing Aquaman. I never knew his name or his claim to fame, but
okay. So the dude from Aquaman and is standing in the cage in front of Mark Hunt, and they start performing this. It's a tribal. I don't want to mess this up because my culture of the Polynesian or Samoan. I don't even know which. It's not right, but they perform a dance, something like a haka or something of that nature. I cannot pronounce it correctly, but I see Mata in there, so I'm like, what is Mata doing? I'm assuming this is in Australia, doing this cultural dance with the guy from Aquaman and Mark Hunt. Well, apparently he's Aquaman's personal trainer. So he travels the world. So we're thinking, oh, these guys doing big things after Tough Enough. He's going ahead and doing his thing. He's traveling the world as the trainer for Aquaman. So I don't know if how many people were aware of what's going on. I think he's still trying to wrestle, but he's Aquaman's personal trainer. That's a interesting little tidbit that I found out. Now, seeing how you don't know
quite
who
random. I would say quite random, but okay, cool.
very random, very random. What else did we talk about? We talked about a bunch of random stuff. What the heck happened to your girl, Eve Marie?
Oh
Your
boy,
girl.
here we go.
Now, Eve Marie, I thought she was going to be the next big thing. All right, and some people may slay me because I thought Kelly admittedly had some potential.
Oh my god, you are the biggest Kelly fan in the world, and I'm still trying to figure out why. But apparently, you knew something we did because WWE pushed her big time during her run. So, and wasn't she just at Mania too?
She was there. I don't know why. I don't know if she was visiting friends. I didn't see her. I was at WrestleMania. I didn't see her. So I don't know what was going on.
Well, she was at the Hall of Fame for sure because I watched that and I saw her. I saw her appear on the Hall of Fame thing. I think she was there to support Beth Phoenix because they're like besties. Like her, Beth Phoenix, Candice Michelle. They're like all really, really tight.
Okay, so she was there. But yeah, so I thought maybe even more so because the hate on Eva Marie was just through the roof. She didn't even have to do anything. She grabbed the mic and people would start hating. And there's no reason we were talking about this offline. No reason she shouldn't have been a valet for somebody. I sincerely think they dropped the ball. She didn't have to step in the ring. All she had to do was stand by somebody's side. But I thought, okay, I know I seen on her Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or something that she kept doing this fashion thing. She was, into fashion, just like remind me of Maurice. Maurice came on our show some years back. We had a pleasure speaking with the Mrs.
We
wife,
did, yeah,
Maurice.
we sure did. She appeared on a little magazine we used to do called The Color Commentator as well.
That's right. Look it up. So
check our dental records, Jack. Sorry, go ahead.
She was running this fashion line and supposed to be doing, something with fashion. I don't know how successful it was. I haven't heard about anything about it. She's back in the WWE. I'm assuming. Maybe I'm assuming wrong. Maybe it didn't go out like she planned. So that's what Eve Marie is doing. And I was like, sorry for it, but she's in Hollywood, son. She's in movies now. It's a Nick Cage film called Inconceivable. So I'm saying they dropped the ball is why I'm bringing this up, man. She's already a movie star. She's been outside of the WWE for 20 seconds. Stokes, what is going on? What happened to Eve Marie?
Look, man.
She's a superstar now.
I mean, she's very easy on the eyes, which I know WWE is not fixated on that anymore. They're all about the wrestling a bit. Well, maybe they still are, but I don't know, man. I don't think she's done. Right? She can't be done. They have contracts and whatnot, right? She's not done with them. Maybe she just took her David Otunga sabbatical to shoot a movie. And I know she's been off TV for a long time. Is she officially done?
I don't know. She's still on WWE.com.
Okay, so then she's not done.
So you think she's gonna come back and be bigger and better? But
well, I don't know about the bigger and better. Hold on, don't put words in my mouth now.
Now saying she's gonna be the next Charlotte. That's what you saying?
Well, she has some potential. Like she can do something, man. Like I'm thinking, like Lana's getting ready to wrestle for the freaking SmackDown Women's Championship, and I'm not trying to shoot. Lana just doesn't look like she can wrestle to me. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put it, and I probably shouldn't judge a book by its cover. That's not the fair thing to do. But I'm sure Eva Marie can come back, and they have something for her to do. Now you were saying maybe she could be a valet or something like that. but she would have to be able to. She would have to be a decent mouthpiece. Because even look at Lana or look at Maurice. Even with them being valets and them even having accents and things like that, they are still pretty good talkers. They don't do the guys that they're with a disservice, especially Lana. Lana got all types of heat, calling saying bad things about Americans and things of that nature. Now Maurice doesn't go that route because the Miz kind of generates his own heat, but they could find something for her, and I think they will. I don't think she's done with them, man. I think she's gonna be back.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if she goes, she's made one movie, which is a Nick Cage film, so I'm surprised it's not already on Netflix. And she's, from her Wikipedia, she's filming another, which I'm not sure what that is. It says to be determined. So we'll see. But she can already come back and say, I'm a movie star, kind of like what The Miz does. Or did when he, went and made the Marine 10 or 12. And she can, rub that whole arrogance thing, and she wouldn't have to say much. So, but the question is, she and her hubby manager, whatever he is, has started all that public beef with the WWE over her wellness policy violation, because that's why she's been off TV so long, is because apparently she was popped, I hope I'm getting this right, I think Adderall or something. She had some kind of medication. It wasn't like crack or something. She had medication, and there was some disputes with that, and they didn't shine the most positive light, or they felt the WWE wasn't shining the most positive light on her for the suspension. So I don't know if there's beef there or not, but that made her return.
And they were already kind of building her. If you remember, like before she went on whatever the little sabbatical, whatever she's on, they would have like the movie announcer like introduce her as this, international or star or whatever. So I think they were already trying to almost build her as such. So they could just continue to play on that. I know she dyed her hair back like to a natural color. I thought the red thing, I agree. I think I caught an episode of one of the reality shows she was on, Total Divas or whatever. I don't generally watch any of them, but I think I caught an exchange she had with like a WWE official, and he was like, "No, you got," she was talking about, "I'm thinking about dyeing my hair," and he was like, "No, that'll mess everything up. Like, keep the red hair. It works for you." I think he was right about that. She should keep that going, and fiery redhead type of deal, and it's something that they have something that they can build on, because you got some solid wrestling from the women in WWE now, but you really only have a few that really have a gimmick that it's like, okay, like, yeah, like Charlotte, she's pretty charismatic. Naomi has the glow thing going, that's working really well for her. Obviously, Alexa Bliss has a lot of charisma. Sasha Banks, so you got a handful. Everybody else is kind of like, kind of middle of the pack. They all can wrestle, but don't bring a whole lot of charisma, to the table. So Eva Marie can get into that mix and be added to that mix and kind of be this charismatic heel, and I think it will work well. So, but maybe the desire is to be a movie star. I think that's anybody's dream, but I think when you're in that type of industry, anytime you get a movie opportunity, I'm sure, a la The Rock, a la Batista, I'm sure once you kind of get into those roles, you kind of start to fall in love with that, and kind of want to make that versus traveling 300 days a year in wrestling. So
yep. And we'll see, I guess, once her world tour and red carpet stints slow down, maybe she'll find her way back, dyeing her head red again, and walk back into your live, Stokester. And maybe.
We shall see.
We shall see. And another one. This is a weird one. This one, like my Mata comment
Oh God,
or
yes.
observation.
I'll never forget who Mata is now, thanks to you.
You'll you may never forget Mata ever again. This is a weird one I came across last night. The wife and I were watching The Purge, election year, which came out in 2016. As I'm watching it, have you seen the movie?
I have not. No, I haven't seen it.
Have you seen any of the Purge movies?
I don't think so. No. I did see Get Out. I did see Get Out last week, man. But I ain't gonna steal your thunder. Go ahead.
Don't go there.
Go ahead. We ain't gonna go there, man.
That's a different podcast. That's a different podcast. It might not be at the end of this. It might not be at the end of this comment. It might not be. But
okay. Hey.
But The Purge. So for those who don't know, no spoilers. I'll fill you in. Basically, every year, it's legal to do anything you want. You can purge yourself of these feelings, and you could rape, pillage, kill, destroy, whatever, loot, whatever you want to do. It's legal for these 12 hours. That's the gist of the movie. It's pretty basic, pretty simple.
Yeah, I kind of knew the premise. I knew the plot. Yeah. All
right. So the election year, again, not spoiling anything, is there's two candidates this election year. One has been for the purge, one is against the purge. Pretty simple concept, right? So as they're presenting the movie, the person who is for the purge, he's got some backers. He's got some supporters, Stokes.
I think you're gonna say the person is for the purge gets purged. I was say, dang, that's a plot twist. So go ahead.
No, he's for the purge, and if you're against the purge, then you get purged. So he's got a group of gangsters with him, and they're very open and honest about the feelings, Stokes. They wear tattoos, fatigues of sorts, and they've got white power here and Nazi flags here and a Confederate flag here. So a hateful group is what they're trying to obviously point out, that these guys are mean and bad. And another thing that they have on them, Stokes, is this cross. And I look at that cross, I'm like, I've seen that cross. I know that cross. What is that cross? And I do a little quick look. It doesn't take me long. And they call it the Iron Cross, Stokes. And the Iron Cross, I was like, oh, again, I've seen this. I know this. How do I know this cross? This cross is a very popular cross, but this cross is often used with white power in the middle of this cross. And I was like, white power, okay, I've seen this cross. I know this cross, but it's a little bit closer to home. I don't know anybody who wears that cross. A little more research, and I said, boom, all of a sudden it clicks. Triple H wears that cross. That cross that you see on his trunks, and he had the skull helmet. It's in the center of his skull helmet. He wears the Iron Cross. And you can Google it now and take a look at some of Triple H's outfits with the Iron Cross. And let me say this. I don't know why Triple H wears the Iron Cross. I believe it's because he's in love with Metallic. Was it Metalhead? What's Motorhead?
Motorhead. Yeah.
And I think that genre of music also sports that cross. And I know Harley Davidson has that cross. But that is a really, really weird thing to have on your gear. That's a really weird thing to put on your skull of your mask as you walk around. And let's be honest. Let's be honest. Alberto Del Rio, 2014, came out. Ricardo Rodriguez, who's at that time his manager, came out. I brushed this all under the rug. Didn't resonate with me. But they accuse Triple H of calling him Bumblebee. Do you know the Bumblebee reference?
No. I remember hearing something about this, but give me a refresher. I remember something about it.
Yeah, so it was the Bumblebee is apparently a character on The Simpsons. I don't watch The Simpsons, but I looked it up and saw what it's Bumblebee Man.
I thought it was Bumblebee for the Transformers, but
no, wrong Bumblebee. No, it's from The Simpsons and a very typical character there. So apparently, Ricardo Rodriguez had said that he was called Bumblebee, making reference to it, and then not only him, but then also like Savio Vega, like he went down a line and said that all these people had been once Savio Vega and also Super Crazy were also called Bumblebee because they were Mexican, right? So that's like, what's going on? And then we go to Booker T. Now, we all know at the time that Triple H's angle with Booker T wasn't all right. There was something weird there. Booker T accepted it, so maybe we accepted it, but the racial overtones there were crazy. All this to say, there's been a racial any black athlete has had trouble getting, if your name's not The Rock, who I hate to say anything bad about The Rock, but I don't know how much of his African American side. We always hear about his Samoan side. He's got his $7 production company. All his advisors and people that work with him are white. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. But to me, it's crazy. It's 2017, and I'm still seeing this in the WWE. I thought we knew there wasn't much of there was a glass ceiling for black athletes in the WWE in Vince McMahon's era. I thought maybe we'd get a chance with a younger, fresher hip, but it makes me a little weird. It makes me a little uncomfortable now that I see this. It's hard for me to unsee, Stokes. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? I'm cringing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. You.
I love the WWE. Hey, if they had a spot open to work for the WWE,
you take it.
I'm probably taking it. 2 days ago, I was definitely taking it. Now I'm like, ooh.
Not so sure, right?
And I've got the WWE network, but ooh, not so sure. You see your stereotypical characters. I know JTG, Shaq Gaspard, told me that they pitched the money. Yeah, I forget the name of their group now.
Crime Time.
Come on, man. Crime Time.
We had Shaq Gaspard on the show years ago.
We had him on the show, yeah. So I know because we had him on the show, he told me he pitched it. So it's not, they get a pass for that. But then there's other weird, what happened to the New Day? The New Day was supposed to be, they didn't have to throw a fist in the air and go old school nation of domination, but they went from a strong, powerful black group to a singing and dancing jokey black group, which is cool because that's part of, the having fun and jokes is part of our black culture. But it seems like when they had the opportunity to thrust them into this power source, it wasn't never supposed to take off like it was not. We were not supposed to get Bootios and promised ice creams. This was not supposed to go the level that it reached. They took it. So my point is, I still feel weird, Stokes. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, well, Daniel made an interesting point in the chat room about Vince McMahon using the N-word infamously, if you remember.
Yes.
With Booker T, and so yeah, so WWE has kind of always, pushed that envelope. Maybe not as much anymore. Like my wife gets frustrated, of course. She doesn't watch wrestling at all, but when she does, she's like, "Well, how come all the black guys just fit all of the black stereotypes?"
Yeah.
And she's like, I remember when Crime Time was like popping, and they would come out, Brooklyn, and they'd come out, and she's like, "Really?" They're like super gangster. But yeah, they kind of been pushing that envelope for a while, man. Being gimmicky. I guess some guys they shy away from it. Daniel talked about Titus O'Neil. You think about Titus Young from the Detroit Lions. He's in jail right now. But Titus O'Neil,
touching him.
His gimmick is not stereotypical. I kind of like the whole Titus brand thing, the stuff he's doing with Apollo Crews. That's cool. But some of them, like you said, with the New Day, now they've gone away from that a little bit, I think. Because I think the New Day was supposed to be like this group of like inspirational. They're supposed to be kind of like almost like preachers, or that's initially what they tried to make that gimmick, because that's why they come out to the gospel music and and all of that. I think that was the original plan, and then New Day kind of morphed it into something else. So I get what you're saying, man. Sometimes it does put you in these positions of being uncomfortable, for sure.
Yeah, kind of hard to support. Let me go back to Daniel Price also pushed what I did read and did not get to was Motorhead and Lemmy. I guess he's the lead singer or the leader of that band, which Triple H idolizes. Did collect old memorabilia. He says it wasn't used for white supremacy and I don't know him, so I gotta give him some leeway, but it's kind of when you repeatedly use it, then that's a different story. If you're just collecting it, I mean, I don't know. I am quite certain there are plenty of people who collect Nazi, memorabilia. I'm sure people. I'm not sure. I know people collect Civil War memorabilia, but that's questionable because they reenact that thing. So that's weird. That's questionable.
Yeah, I was at a little event in my daughter's school. They were doing these presentations, and someone they were doing it. Each kid got a state, and so I think one kid had Mississippi, and their state flag actually is the Confederate flag. So they had the flag up. I was like, whoa! But I mean, they didn't mean anything malicious by doing it, but I still was kind of taken aback, like, oh,
As Brendan Schaub says, super skeptical hippo eyes on that one, my friend. But yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy, and I don't know. It's just a crazy thing that another thing is, which is WWE. I don't know if it's Triple H specifically, but I think he was of course, in charge. Willie Mack, African American wrestler in the indie scene on Lucha Libre. He was offered a contract to the WWE, and then all of a sudden his medicals came back, and they said, "Oh, sorry, you didn't pass. You failed your medicals." But apparently didn't send him the medicals, which is weird. Somebody fails medical, you don't tell them what's wrong with them. I don't know. So just little things that, we're wrestling fans and we like to support wrestling, but they make it hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but that's unfortunately that's the same old same, and the same conversation we've had on this podcast. But I think it's something that kind of needs to be popped up and spoken about, because if we don't talk about it, then nobody does, and it keeps being swept under the rug.
Sure.
So
for sure,
it's all the little things. So just so we don't end on a downer. We don't want anybody crying themselves to sleep at night. Let's end with the topic that you brought up real quick.
Yeah.
You brought it to my attention about a certain potential lawsuit that could have been going down, but it was avoided. Why don't you explain that?
Oh man, let me. Okay, so I guess Jerry Lawler, I guess, is to thank for this.
Is he to thank?
Yeah. So apparently,
or to blame?
Well, a little bit of both, right? So I guess, obviously, we know WWE's July or Raw's July pay-per-view is called Great Balls of Fire, and apparently WWE had gone forward with going with this name for the pay-per-view without consulting with one Jerry Lee Lewis, who, of course, famously made the song Great Balls of Fire. So Jerry Lawler on his podcast talks about a phone call that he got from Jerry Lee Lewis's lawyer asking Jerry Lawler for contact information for someone in WWE so that he could discuss potential copyright infringement, because Jerry Lee Lewis actually owns the rights to the word or the term Great Balls of Fire. So long story short, Jerry Lawler calls some people. Those people end up from WWE. Those people end up linking with the lawyer of Jerry Lee Lewis. And not only does WWE work something out, WWE also is using the Great Balls of Fire song as the theme song for the pay-per-view. So Jerry Lawler, you're right. Jerry Lawler is to blame, because he could have put all of this crap to bed. He could have ended this all. We could have went back to, the Great American Bash or some normal name for the July pay-per-view. But instead, now we get Great Balls of Fire, which I still have no idea or understand. The only thing I could equate is there's fire in it. It's July, Heat, SummerSlam. Maybe they're trying to play off of that, and I'm reaching here. I'm really, really reaching. But maybe that's what they were going with. But we can thank or we can blame Jerry Lawler, because Great Balls of Fire is happening. I think it's July 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, we blame Jerry. We blame you, Jerry. Why did you do this to us? I mean, hey, I know it's July, but Halloween Havoc was available. They could have got that. Spring Stampede, I know it's July, but they could have taken that. I would have had anything else other than Great Ball. Like, who? That just seems like Vince, laughing in his office. Ah, it's hilarious. Like, the most random, horrible name. Bruce Pritchard says when they come up with ideas, whether it's matches and gimmicks, sometimes he would just throw stuff out there just to be funny. And sometimes it's stuck. Like Bastion Booger, I believe, was one of his examples. That was a name he threw out there, and Vince said, yes, that's a great name. Let's take it. So somebody, when they were mining for names, said, goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire. Boom, that's it. But Stokes, why did they have to one-up it? They could have just put that horrible name and left it alone. But then the logo comes out. The logo comes out.
Is this what Daniel's alluding to?
I have to see. But balls are literally on fire. And,
That's what Daniel's alluding to.
listen, Stokes, I work in marketing. That's what I do. That's my 9 to 5, right? There's a very simple, basic, get out of college thing to do, and it's called see and say. So that means you see and do exactly whatever it is you're trying to convey. So if it's great balls and fire, the very first thing that a rookie would do is design something with fire, big balls of fire. So one, on the design element, it's very basic. Two, it's really freaking weird, which is more important. But
yeah,
how do you say that with a straight face?
The only thing worse if they would have called this WWE in your house, great balls of fire. That would have been worse. I know Jay in the chat room. Shout out to Jay in the chat room says they could have brought back anything in your house and it would have been better than great balls of fire. But if they would have called it WWE in your house, great balls of fire, it would have gone down in history. It's already one of the worst pay-per-view names ever, but it would have gone down in history for sure as the worst pay-per-view name ever. But you know,
at that point, it would be like laughing at yourself, and we would have been in on the joke. It would have been okay. They would have made it. That's how you justify it and make it okay. This is just friggin' weird. So I don't know. I'm reading Daniel saying, "Come on." Talking about the guy who almost booked himself as the father of his own grandchild. I don't remember that storyline.
Yeah, we'll have to flash back to that one.
All right. Well, the crazy July. That's going to be the title of a podcast soon, I'm sure, as we get closer. But man, crazy times. Looking forward to seeing what happens with Samoa Joe.
Yep.
And real quick, I keep saying real quick, but does Jinder Mahal fade away after Money in the Bank? Even if he wins, I kind of feel I'll save this major discussion for another podcast, but I kind of feel unless they book him immediately when John Cena comes back July 4th, he's faded away as a champion. He's done. Is it very crucial, win or lose Money in the Bank, he gets like some kind of major platform after Money in the Bank?
I actually thought, and here you go, you guys have been waiting for this. No, I am not about to get on and I actually thought no, I am not about gender equality. I mean, I am in the GENDER way, but not the JINDER way. Let me clarify before people start, tweeting us and writing letters. But I actually thought Jinder's promo on SmackDown, I thought for a very brief moment he looked like the WWE champion. Okay, I'll give him a compliment because the last time I appeared on this show, I had quite the tantrum, which somebody in the chat room pointed out. I'm glad I'm in high demand. Someone asked for me to come back because of my epic Jinder Mahal rant, which you have to go back a couple episodes ago and check that out. It might have been 2 or 3 episodes ago. But I did think his promo on last night, he did look like or sound like a champion. And because I actually can't stand Randy Orton, so I actually would like to see Jinder win at Money in the Bank. If he loses the belt, I'm totally lost. I'm totally lost, totally confused about what WWE is trying to accomplish here, what they're trying to do. But if he wins, I think he builds some momentum. If he loses, he absolutely fades away in obscurity. He can't lose. There is no option. Now, he could win and maybe fade away, but if he loses, he's done. If he loses, clearly WWE's plan to expand in India has blown up in just 6 short weeks or however long it's been since they decided to start pushing gender. So,
wow, I didn't really think we'd see this day. Thomas asked if you were coming back.
Shout out Thomas. Shout out to Thomas. Appreciate it, bro.
I was going to cue up some I'm sorry music because of the way you were treated a couple of weeks ago. I felt that maybe an apology would have been necessary, Stokester. But technical difficulties.
Yeah, no apologies needed. I was right. I'm gonna go.
But we see you have come around.
No.
Apparently, no apologies. I was on the right.
I gave gender a compliment. That does not mean that I support this very hasty move by the WWE to put the title on him. I gave him a compliment. It was a good promo. I do like some of his promos. I'm giving him a compliment. This is not a Stokester endorsement for Jinder Mahal as WWE champion. It is just a compliment that he gave a somewhat decent promo last night. That's all I'm saying.
And folks, you heard it here first. For the Stokester and Darius at Hit the Ropes on Twitter, Stokes has just admitted that Jinder Mahal cuts epic promos. He is a deserving champion. He has to remain as the champion after Money in the Bank. He is possibly the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time. It is yet to be seen, but probably will be seen. These are not my words. These are Stokester's words. And with that, we will see you next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us in the chat.
I said none of that.